Have you ever noticed that sadness doesn't come out of nowhere? That it follows a pattern? Those dark Sunday nights, or when you open Instagram, or lying in bed, when your brain decides to replay that embarrassing conversation from 3 years ago. You know it's going to happen, but you can't stop it. Your brain almost seems to be waiting for it. Well, let me tell you something. Your brain isn't sabotaging you. It's doing exactly what it was trained to do: predict what comes next. Truth is that every time you replay sad thoughts, ruminate on a problem, or reread those messages, you're reinforcing a cycle. That cycle runs on the same brain system that makes you compulsively check your phone or procrastinate before studying. I'm talking about dopamine, but not in the way you think. You might not know, but dopamine isn't the pleasure hormone. It's the brain's prediction signal. Think of it as a GPS saying, something important is about to happen here. And here's the counterintuitive part. Your brain doesn't only release dopamine when it anticipates good things. It releases it whenever it expects anything it has learned to predict, including sadness. That means if you've trained your brain to anticipate sadness at certain moments, it will fire that prediction signal before the trigger even arrives. Sunday nights become synonymous with anxiety, not because something bad is actually happening, but because you've taught your brain to expect it. Every time you ruminate, cycling through the same negative thoughts, you're confirming that prediction. The brain registers, "Got it right again," and rewards you with a small hit of dopamine for being correct. Yes, the brain feels rewarded for being sad, because that's what it expected. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 things. First, how mental rumination works like a dopamine addiction. You might actually be addicted to thinking about your sadness. Second, why it's so hard to stop, even when you know it's hurting you. Third, and most importantly, how you can start reprogramming these patterns with small, practical interventions that teach your brain to predict different rewards. You need to understand this. You are not weak for feeling sad. You're dealing with a brain that learned a pattern, and patterns can be changed. So let's start with the mechanism. If you don't understand how it works, it feels like you're the problem, when in reality, it's your brain doing its job, doing what you trained it to do. The first thing you need to unlearn is the idea that dopamine is the pleasure hormone, when actually dopamine is your brain's navigation system. It's a signal that says, pay attention here, something important is about to happen. It could be something good, it could be something bad. The brain doesn't differentiate. It just wants to be prepared. Let me give you a classic neuroscience example. In the 1990s, researcher Wolfram Schultz ran experiments with monkeys. He gave them juice and measured the dopamine in their brains. At first, dopamine spiked when they received the juice. Reward releases dopamine. But then he started flashing a light before giving the juice. After a few repetitions, dopamine stopped spiking at the juice. It started spiking at the light. The brain had learned the pattern. The light predicted the juice, and the dopamine system shifted to the moment of prediction. This is crucial. Your brain is waiting for you to confirm a prediction. Any prediction. If you've trained your brain to predict sadness when you lie down in bed, when you open a certain app, when Sunday night rolls around, dopamine will fire in those moments. Your brain has learned that here comes sadness and is getting you ready for it. Think about it. How many times have you felt that tightness in your chest before opening Instagram? Before seeing any post, before comparing your life to anyone else's? Your brain was already anticipating, already warning you. Based on past experience, that bad feeling usually shows up here. And when you open it and actually feel it, you just confirmed your brain's prediction. It registers, "Got it right again?" That what makes sadness keep coming back. If the brain is rewarding you for getting predictions right, even negative ones, what happens when you keep replaying the same sad thoughts? You're training a pattern. Rumination is the behavior of chewing over the same thoughts repeatedly, replaying an argument you had, analyzing for the 1,000th time why that person left you, checking someone's profile, knowing it'll make you feel bad. This can become a pattern, using the same brain system that forms habits around social media, gaming, and anything else that gives you micro doses of dopamine. I'll give you practical examples you've probably lived through. Rereading messages from an ex. You know it's going to hurt. You know it won't change anything, but you open them anyway. Why? Because your brain predicts the sequence. I'll read it, I'll feel that sting, I'll confirm it's really over. And when you confirm it, your brain registers, prediction correct. Mission accomplished. Micro reward released. Even checking the profiles of people who make you feel inadequate. You open it. See that seemingly perfect life. Feel that emptiness. And 5 minutes later, you're opening it again. Your brain is completing a loop. I predicted I'd feel bad here, and I was right. The problem is that being right releases dopamine, even when being right means confirming sadness. Another example. Reliving embarrassing situations before bed. You're almost falling asleep, and out of nowhere your brain pulls up that memory of when you said something awkward in a meeting, or when you tried to greet someone who wasn't greeting you back. You didn't choose to think about it, but now that it's there, you keep going over it, analyzing it. I could have said this, I should have done that. Your brain is confirming a pattern it knows well. Before sleep, we do this. Let's run it again. You try not to think about it. You tell yourself to stop, but 5 minutes later, you're back on the same thought. You're fighting a dopaminergic circuit, the same kind of circuit that makes you compulsively check notifications, the same one that makes you scroll an endless feed without realizing it. The structure is the same: prediction, action, confirmation, micro reward, repetition. Rumination gives you a strange sense of control. If I keep thinking about this, maybe I'll understand it. Maybe I'll figure it out. But you rarely do. Because rumination is a loop, you're going in circles, confirming to your brain that this is the expected pattern. But how did the brain learn this? How did it decide that Sunday night anxiety, or before bed, reliving embarrassments? There's a logic behind it. Your brain is a pattern learning machine. That's its job. It takes your experiences, identifies what repeats, and creates shortcuts. Every time A happens, B follows. This is useful when you're learning to drive, to cook, to work, but it works with emotions too. Think about Sunday night. Why do so many people feel that heaviness? Sunday night has become, in your mental history, the moment that comes before Monday. And Monday, in your brain's filing system, is linked to boring work, responsibilities, the end of rest. You train that association. Sunday, Monday, discomfort. After a few repetitions, the brain fires a signal on Sunday. Based on the pattern, something bad is coming. Another example. You walk into a room full of people and feel anxiety. Why? Maybe because 3 years ago you went to a party, tried to start a conversation, got an awkward rejection, and left feeling invisible. One experience, but one strong enough for your brain to file away. Room full of people, risk of rejection, discomfort. Now, every time you walk into a similar room, your brain pulls up that file and gets you ready. Careful. This tends to go badly. And there's an important detail here. The brain processes imagined scenarios in a similar way to real events. If you picture a negative scenario with enough intensity, the brain logs it as data. How many times have you mentally rehearsed an argument that rarely happened? How many times have you anticipated rejection before even trying? Every time you do that, you're feeding the file. Situation X, some sadness. The brain absorbs it. This explains why some people feel sadness in specific contexts. Hearing a certain song, passing by a certain place, seeing a certain type of photo, one very specific smell. It's because once, in that context, you felt something strong, and the brain flagged it. Attention. Emotional danger lives here. The heaviest part of this is that your brain is trying to protect you. I'll warn you ahead of time. I'll get you ready, so you won't be caught off guard. The problem is that this warning triggers the emotion. You feel the sadness before the event that could have caused it. And you confirm your brain's prediction, because you really did feel it, even if the event never happened. Now you know. Your brain learned these patterns. It's drawing from real experiences, or from mental rehearsals you repeated so many times they became real to it. The good news is that learned patterns can be unlearned. They can be reprogrammed. Now, if rumination is a dopaminergic pattern, then the solution follows the same logic as breaking any pattern. You replace the pattern. You teach your brain to predict different rewards, and that needs to be consistent. Here's your first micro-intervention: pattern interruption. When you notice you're entering the loop, going over that conversation, checking that profile, rehearsing that argument, you take an immediate physical action. Stand up, drink a glass of water, change rooms. You're breaking the sequence your brain was expecting. Now I'll ruminate for 20 minutes. But you change the script, it gets confused. Where's the confirmation? And that, with repetition, starts to weaken the loop. Second intervention: the 10-minute test. When the urge to ruminate hits, to reread the messages, to check the profile, to replay the situation, you make a deal with your brain. In 10 minutes I can do that, but not right now. And you do something else. Anything. Answer an email. Tidy up your desk. Do the dishes. You're proving to your brain that the urgency is false, that it can wait. And often, after those 10 minutes, the urge has passed because it was the loop trying to complete itself. Third intervention: predictions journal. Every time your brain forecasts sadness, I'm going to feel bad now, you write it down. And then you write down what actually happened. Example: I predicted I'd feel awful in the meeting. What happened? It was fine. Nobody judged me. You're building evidence against your brain's predictions. You're showing it. You were wrong. Your prediction didn't match reality. And when the brain gets predictions wrong repeatedly, it starts to adjust. It learns, maybe I'm overestimating the risk here. Fourth intervention: redirecting the dopamine reservoir. You have a limited amount of dopaminergic energy each day. You can spend it confirming negative predictions, ruminating, checking things that make you feel bad, replaying sadness, or you can invest it in actions that train positive predictions. Study for 20 minutes. Go for a walk. Reply to a message you've been avoiding. Every time you choose the second option, you're telling your brain, there's a reward here too. And this reward builds something. The change isn't instant. You're going to start training a different pattern. When the urge to ruminate comes, I interrupt it. When the prediction of sadness comes, I test whether it's real. When I have energy, I invest it in building. One crucial point: you're not trying to avoid the pattern of sadness itself. Feeling sad when something bad happens is healthy. It's processing. The problem is when you keep replaying the same sadness without actually processing anything. That's when it becomes a loop, and that's when you can step in. Now I'm going to give you a practical way to start this today. One simple action you can try this week. Understanding the mechanism is half the battle. The other half is testing it in real life to see if it works. A beginning, when repeated, becomes a pattern. Choose one situation, one recurring situation where you feel the sadness coming back. It might be before bed. It might be when you open a certain app. It might be Sunday night. Any context where you recognize the pattern. And starting today, every time that urge to ruminate hits, to reread the messages, to check the profile, to replay the situation, you pause, count to 10, stand up, drink some water, move to another room. You're interrupting the script your brain was expecting to run. And you write it down. I interrupted it. What happened next? It doesn't have to be perfect. You won't manage it every time. But every time you do, you weaken the loop. You're showing your brain that the sequence can be different. If you train sadness, you can train different predictions, not overnight, not through forced positive thinking, but through consistent micro-interventions that break the cycle. Interrupt, test, redirect, build evidence against the bad predictions. Invest your dopamine reservoir in actions that build something, instead of spending it confirming loops. And there's something freeing in this. When you understand that it's a brain pattern, you stop thinking it's your fault. You stop beating yourself up for not being able to stop thinking. You understand, my brain is doing what it was programmed to do. Now I'm going to reprogram it. That lifts the moral weight. It's not weakness. It's mechanics, and mechanics can be adjusted. The next time sadness comes back, and it will come back, because you're human and life has hard moments, you'll be equipped with a question. Is this sadness that's processing me? Or is this sadness that became a pattern and is feeding itself. If it's the first, you feel it, you process it, you allow it. If it's the second, you step in, you break the loop, you teach your brain there's another way. If this video helped you understand something about your own brain, if you recognized any of your own patterns here, leave a like. When you like the video, you help it reach more people who are stuck in the same cycle. And if you want to keep learning how the brain works in practice, subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like, go to the comments and answer this. What's the context where sadness comes back most for you? Sunday night? Before bed? When you open a certain app? Share it, because when you name the pattern, you've already started breaking it. See you in the next video.